One of the biggest benefits of the DJI Mini 3 Pro is the fact that it is so lightweight and compact and small, so you don't have to sacrifice any space in your bag in terms of not taking other camera gear with you if you want to have a ground camera and obviously a drone. So it's just one of the biggest benefits of it. And depending on where in the world you live, because it's less than 250 grams, it means that you do have a little bit more freedom as to where you can fly. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I picked up the Mini 3 Pro over any other drone, because it just means that so many more spaces are open up for me to fly. And also having a remote control that now has a dedicated screen is so much better than having to connect your phone and mess around with cables, and it's just less hassle. It's just one less step that you have to do, which just gets you up flying a lot quicker. And the screen on the remote is also pretty bright as well. Whenever I'm filming in harsh sunlight or anything, I don't feel like I've ever had trouble seeing what I'm filming. So it has that level of brightness that really ensures that you can see everything that you're doing, no matter the shooting situations and the weather conditions. And I have to say, from the Mini 2 to the Mini 3 Pro, there's such a big difference when it comes to flight time. I can't remember how much the Mini 2 was, but the Mini 3 Pro, I tend to get about 25 minutes flight time. And I look at my screen, obviously this is going to depend on how you fly the drone, the weather conditions. If it's windier, then it's going to reduce the battery life because the drone has to work a little bit harder. But generally speaking, I tend to get about 25 minutes out of the drone, which just covers you for so much. You can get so much in that space of time. So having 3 batteries means that you really can just go for such a long time and pretty much just use it all day. I've always found that if I've gone out vlogging or anything like that and I take my drone with me to get those establishing shots, 3 batteries is more than enough for the whole day. And the video footage is just stunning. It doesn't matter if you shoot in the normal colour profile or the D-Cine Light colour profile. Obviously, D-Cine Light is going to give you the better dynamic range and make it so that it's a lot easier for you to colour grade the footage as well. But even if you shoot in normal, you're still going to get really decent looking footage. And whether you shoot in normal or D-Cine Light, you can still grade the footage. Like I said, D-Cine Light grades a lot easier, but you can still colour grade the footage in normal. And when it comes to colour grading, I tend to use Film Convert Nitrate because it just allows you to have more of a film-like look. So like I said, the footage that comes out of the drone looks awesome, but I like to have more of a filmic look, and it gives it that more cinematic feel as well. So Film Convert Nitrate has a film emulation suite which has loads of different film stocks in it that you can choose from, and so it just takes off that edge and that digital look, gives it more of a cinematic look. And it also allows you to add a certain amount of film grain to the footage as well, which again takes away that digital look. And the other thing is, Film Convert also have a plugin called Cinematch, which allows you to match different cameras. So if you shoot with your drone and then you shoot with, say, I have a Sony a7S III, matching those 2 cameras and making the footage look seamless in a video is so much easier when you use Cinematch, because you can match the profiles from one camera to another. So it just makes color correcting, color grading, and just that consistency throughout your video a lot better. So I've dropped links in the description to both Cinematch and Film Convert Nitrate, and you can get both of them on a free trial. You get full access in those trials. The only difference is between the trial version and the paid version is you have a watermark on the footage until you buy your license. And if you do want to buy them, then you can use the code TamaraG and that'll give you 10% off. So 10% off on Cinematch, and you can also get 10% off on Film Convert Nitrate as well. So links are in the description, check it out, and thank you so much to Film Convert for sponsoring this video. So even though DJI have 2 versions of this drone, they've got the Mini 3 Pro and then they've got the Mini 3, which they brought out a little bit later on. I feel like the Mini 3 Pro is aimed more at beginners, even though the Mini 3 is cheaper. And the reason I say that is because 2 reasons really. So you've got intelligent flight features. So you've got this master shots and you've got the quick shots feature, which basically allow you to select the subject that you're trying to film, and then the drone will do all the flying for you and capture that subject for you. With the master shots, it means that the drone will just capture a series of clips, and so then you can go back in the edit and then you can choose which cinematic shot you like the most and you can put that in your video. Or with the quick shots, then you can choose a specific action that you want the drone to do and it will film that shot for you, and then you've got that clip. And I just feel like if you're a beginner and you don't really fly drones and you're not really familiar with flying drones, that gives you a really good starting point. And even though the Mini 3, so not the Pro, even though the Mini 3 does have some quick shots, it doesn't have all of them in it, and it also doesn't have master shots. So The Mini 3 Pro, I just feel like that is more aimed at beginners. And the other thing is the fact that the Mini 3 Pro has obstacle avoidance, whereas the Mini 3 doesn't. So if you're a beginner, again, obstacle avoidance I feel is going to be one of those key things that you're going to need, because it's just going to take the stress out of flying. And even though it doesn't have obstacle avoidance at the side, so it's the front, the back and underneath, you're still going to have to be careful whilst you're flying sideways. But just having that obstacle avoidance means that you can fly with less stress and just enjoy flying more, and you can try and get a little bit closer to objects as well to get that more dramatic look and feel in your video. And if you shoot footage for YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels or TikTok, anything where you need to shoot vertically, then having that vertical mode is just such a game changer, because it means that you're going to be able to capture a lot more in the frame without having to crop out so much when you shoot in the 16:9 aspect ratio. So you can flip the camera and then you're just capturing everything that you want in that frame, which is just awesome. And the footage looks really good. And you can just really tell a difference when you've shot something vertically rather than filming something and then cropping it in. So massive advantage with that. And the Mini 3 Pro also handles itself pretty well when it's really windy. I've been out flying before and I've thought, it looks a bit sketchy, but the drone's gone up, it's been fine, and it's actually held really well in terms of the stabilization, so the gimbal and getting steady footage. So I wouldn't recommend shooting it in really high winds, but it's gonna manage itself quite well, and I haven't had a flyaway. Since it's been released, so I got this 10 months ago, and since it's released it's had a couple of firmware updates, and one of the latest firmware updates is the fact that you can now use goggles and a motion controller, which is awesome because I have the DJI Avata as well, and now I can use the goggles and the motion controller with the Mini 3 Pro. It's definitely a different experience, but it's actually quite a fun one. So that is, I feel like DJI, they put something out and then they have some really good firmware updates that come along with it as well. And the other recent update in the firmware is the fact that you can now shoot in auto ISO, which means that if you shoot with ND filters and you put an ND filter on and then you change the direction of the drone or the camera, oftentimes what will happen is your exposure will change, so it'll either become brighter or darker, and the only way that you can kind of change that is by changing one of your settings. So you'd have to change your ISO, you'd have to change your shutter speed, you generally change your ISO. But now being able to select auto ISO means that your exposure is just going to stay consistent. It doesn't matter where the drone is going to be or how the drone is going to move or how you're going to move the camera, the exposure will stay consistent, which is such a big deal, because there's nothing worse than really getting into flying and you're flying somewhere and then you change direction, you're completely oblivious to the fact that your exposure has just dipped, and you get back to the edit and it's like, oh, now it's really dark. So yeah, that auto ISO feature was a very much anticipated and welcomed one for me anyway. And then also, this is something that came out with the drone as it was released anyway, but it has a dual native ISO, which means that if you're shooting in low light or you're shooting at night, it means that you can put the ISO up to 800 and then you're going to get much cleaner video footage. So you're not going to get as much noise as you would get if you were shooting at a lower ISO or something below 800. So that dual native ISO is just really, really useful and just gives you a lot cleaner video footage. So awesome. So this drone, as you can tell, I'm pretty hyped up about it. I still love it 10 months later. I think it's an awesome drone, and I've flown it a lot more than I have ever flown my DJI Mini 2, and I had that drone for a long time. But the Mini 3 Pro, I literally just take it everywhere with me, and it doesn't matter where I am, I'll get it up in the air and I'll get some establishing shots or something and I'll just fly it. So yeah, I still recommend it. I still think it's great. And I was trying to think of downsides to it, and I can't, there's not anything that's really frustrated me with it or made me annoyed with it. So yeah. So I've dropped links in the description to Film Convert Nitrate and Cinematch, as I mentioned earlier, so well worth checking out. Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments. Hit the like button for me on your way out because it helps the channel. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.